Welcome to MILF Ministry podcast, where we explore self-love, healing, and intimacy. My name is Ayodele Vassell. I'm an attorney, a creative, and a MILF. Merch is now available at milfministry.com. You can join our live conversations on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter by following at MILF Ministry. Today's episode is about honesty. Honesty and how it's related to your personal happiness. We're going to have a very short discussion about identifying what your personal needs are versus what society and or your family and friends think you should be doing. And this is very important for your MILF ministry journey because we live in this social media, do it for the gram age where people I think from the beginning of time have been focused on looking happy, but this time that we live in, people really do a lot to quote unquote look happy. From the partners that they choose to how they dress to, what they post about the relationships and the friendships that they're in. And I just really want to take a step back and talk about your individual happiness, what that looks like, what that means like to you. Obviously, it'll be from my standpoint. And then just talk about, the balance of listening to friends and people who love you, give you their opinion on what you should be doing with your life and who you should be happy with. Because it's MILF Ministry podcast, obviously we're going to tie this back into sex. Like the partner you choose, how do you choose a lover versus a boyfriend versus a husband, that type of discussion. And once again, my topics and my discussions are always going to be focused on you, finding the truth for yourself, not necessarily what to look for in a man or how to find a man or nothing like that. Because no, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for you finding out what you really need to be happy so that you can attract that and walk with that energy. Like, this is what I want. This is what I need. I'm very clear. So you can attract what you want in your life. I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction. Let's get right into it. My family is very different. So my background is I'm Jamaican, but I was raised in America. My parents, set guidelines for kind of what we should be focused on, like education. But they weren't really pushy. Like, you hear some parents like, you must be a doctor, you must be a lawyer, you must be an engineer, and you must marry into a family that's like doctor, engineer, whatever, such and such. They tried to stay away from certain thoughts, especially when it comes to choosing your partner. Looking back, I almost feel like I had too much freedom. Because when I talked to my parents after I decided to get divorced and I talked to them about my choices and like who I chose as a partner, who I chose as a husband, they both expressed concerns over my husband and his ability to, be the best partner for me. But neither one of them wanted to impose their view or their thoughts on me. And I believe some of it's tied to things that happened to them when they decided to choose each other and marry each other, which I won't get into because that's a whole nother discussion. But just know that my parents were not overbearing in terms of like what I decided to do in undergrad, when I decided to become a lawyer, when I decided to get married at a very young age to a musician. Like, none of these things, they were just like, no, that's a bad decision. That's a bad idea. And how will this work? They didn't really do that. So my journey to find my happy has really been a very long and very bumpy journey, but it's a journey that I can claim because it's my own. And no one really pressured or pushed me in any direction. So I'm grateful, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe I could have saved a little time if someone had given me some advice. But honestly, I was a very stubborn person, and I probably wouldn't have listened anyway, which is what they already knew. So they were just like, why would I waste my time? Anyway, we'll start with society, and then we'll go into what matters to me, and then we'll go into how I feel like I can use the law of attraction and use certain techniques to kind of create the life I want. So I'm a lawyer. I'm 6 foot tall. I, for the most part, pay my own bills. And I say for the most part because there are times when I'm out of work because I work in Los Angeles, California, and I don't work for one particular law firm. So there are times where I need help from family. I don't mind sharing that with my listeners. It's cool. It is what it is. I always claim richness, both in money and in spirit. But this is not a podcast where we're faking it to make it. We're keeping it 100%. So when it comes to me choosing a partner, most naturally, people around me are like, well, you should have an educated, financially secure, tall, etc., etc., etc. man. Right? And those should be the things that you're looking for. Someone that pays for dates, plans dates, someone that, has his own, like he's secure in his own world and is used to handling things a certain way. And honestly, society is not incorrect at all. If I'm going to choose a partner, I'm going to be looking for someone with a certain level of education, a certain level of security, a certain height, because it's kind of like I feel like sometimes there are things that you cannot escape, right? Things that you should consider. I wouldn't exclude a partner because they didn't go to college, because I'm not like that. I wouldn't exclude a partner that's not making more money than me. I wouldn't exclude a partner that's not 6 foot. Like if he's 5'10" and not 6 foot, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I never do that. But these are things that society tells me, Ayodele, I should be looking for in a partner. But I have to be honest. None of these things on paper actually make me happy, right? So the height of someone has nothing to do with who they are as a man, like how they will handle me emotionally. Like, are you emotionally available? It has nothing to do with really anything besides how we'll look in pictures or how we'll look to other people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I just want to kind of point that out, like the height of somebody. Whether or not someone is like a doctor or a lawyer or engineer, once again, that's not going to determine how they run their household, how they interact with me as a woman, what kind of lover they would be, what kind of friend they would be, their musical taste, like the things that I care about. Like, so it's, once again, it will look good to other people to say, Ayodele is a lawyer and she's married to a doctor, or Ayodele is a lawyer and her boyfriend is an engineer, or her boyfriend is a project manager at Snapchat, like, making big, making 6-7 figures. All of that looks good, but once again, it looks good to other people. For me and my personal happiness, the education, and when I say education, I'm talking about like, did someone finish college or finish a master's program or finish, go to law school, doctor, etc. That's what I'm talking about. Whether or not they went through these channels of quote unquote education, to me, do not affect what kind of partner they will be. The one thing they could quote unquote affect in America is your money, financially secure. Now, I have been married. I won't go into the details of what it was like financially to be married, but I will say this. If I ever get married again, I would want to be married to a man that is financially secure. We could be Oprah and Stedman, meaning that I'm okay with making more money than a man. I'm quite fine with that. That does not bother me at all. But he needs to have his own passion, purpose, income, so that he can do all the things he needs to do as a man in terms of like, if let's say I was ill and he needed to pay bills, he could do that. In terms of his education, is he educated enough to run a household? That has nothing to do with college. Like, do you know how to balance a budget? Can you stick to the budget? You know what I'm saying? Do you have a plan for your future? Like, do you have plan to access different streams of income? Like, are you just counting on this one job and you don't have a backup plan? Or do you have multiple streams of income? So when I'm looking at financial security, those are the things that bring me peace. Someone that is pursuing something that they actually enjoy and making money from it. And they're used to running a household or have experience with running a household. And that's just because for me, when it comes to selecting a partner, it will be nice to know that they are quite comfortable taking care of a household. Why? Because I already am. And so you want someone that can do that. But to me, it's not really a numbers thing. Like, I think you could take care of a household making $30,000 a year, making $50,000 a year, making $1 million a year. So it's more about the mental state of the person. I live in Los Angeles. This is an expensive city by nature. So the desire or the attraction to a man that has money is literally just like a basic need of survival. Like, if I'm going to partner with someone, I like to live a certain way. So if we are going to live together, I would like to live how I'm living now, and if not better. So it's just a common sense thing. Like, you really want someone that's going to contribute to how you already like to live. And if not even contribute, really add value. If I could be very honest, I would want someone that could add value to how I'm already living. Because I live pretty well in Los Angeles. So once again, I've already started to get personal, but I just want to kind of identify like what people tell you should be looking for in a partner and where they're coming from, right? So when society and your family and friends say you should be looking for a man that's educated or looking for a man that's financially secure or a certain height or this or that, I don't really think people are coming from a bad place. When you are a woman, especially to my demographic, MILF, meaning that you're already a woman and you have children, one or more children, when you're going to partner with someone, you really have to think about what value, we have to take it a step further. Like, what value are they going to bring to your life, but also to your children's lives? So education, security, and height. I mean, I think when people look at height, I'm going to venture off for a second. When people look at height, I think they more look at it as, yes, how you look in pictures and how you look to other people, but also protection. Like, typically women like to be with taller men, I think, because you want to feel like someone can protect you physically and protect your children physically. And so if someone's smaller than you, it's like, how can you do all those things? And just let the record reflect, I was married to a man that was shorter than me. So like, I already know what it's like to be with someone shorter. I have people in my circle that have dated men that are shorter than them that will probably marry, someone that's shorter than them. So it's not like I'm anti, being with someone that's shorter than you. But I say all that to just say, like, when we're talking about what society says you need, I think they're coming from a quote unquote good place. Unfortunately, for most humans, it's my opinion that none of those things actually make you happy. Because I believe how someone feels makes you happy. Now, what society says matters in terms of, once again, like I said, your quality of life. Like, you could, let's say you fall in love with someone that's not financially secure. Your relationship will absolutely suffer. I don't care what anybody says. Because if you're a woman and a mother, right, meaning that you have your own children and you're finding a new partner and he's not financially secure, what are you guys really going to be able to do together? He wouldn't be able to contribute to your household. He wouldn't be able to contribute to your children, traveling, going out, having fun. Like, at best, hopefully he provides great emotional support, great sex. But beyond that, like, what are you doing? And in my opinion, I would say that's not somebody that you would necessarily move in with and, you know what I'm saying, get married to for that reason. Because it's like, if they're not really going to be adding quote unquote value to your life, what are you really taking it to the next level for? But let's backtrack. So with that being said, does that mean that a man like that cannot add happiness to your life? So I would argue, and I've seen other people on Facebook say this as well, like, let's say you have a good vibe with someone and you want to spend time with someone. That's kind of priceless, right? I'm not saying you should marry someone, but I remember talking to my siblings when I was looking for a lover, and I was like, well, he should have this, that, you know, house, car, retirement. And my siblings were like, I'm sorry, Ayodele, that sounds like a checklist for a new husband. Like, that doesn't sound like what you're looking for fun. And I was like, what do you mean? I can't be with nobody that if he ain't got. And what my siblings were trying to help me to understand was, Ayo, you just got divorced. And you're looking for someone to have fun with, right? Because this is where your happiness, your journey to happiness has led you to kind of sit still and look for someone to have fun with. So what you need to think about are the things that you like to do for fun. And most of the things that you like to do for fun don't really cost that much money. But that's just you. For other people, because I have a friend, he's like, listen, if it ain't about the money, it ain't fun for him, right? And I have male and female friends that are all about the money. If it's not involving a trip or shopping or some sort of international destination, like, they don't really even have the time for it. It is there's no fun in it for them. I love them for that. They tease me for how I am, but it's fine. Like, I think the important thing is that they know what happiness is to them, and I know what happiness is to me. So that's all that matters. Like, you just have to focus on what that is to you. Going back to what happiness is to me from a personal standpoint, I'm someone that is really, really, really grounded in a genuine connection. It's a vibe. It's a feeling that cannot be faked. It's like either someone cares about you or they don't. And you're going to know it because of their actions over time. It's just something that cannot be faked. I don't know how to describe why that is so important to me, but it really does. It's the difference between attention and genuine care. Like, any man could pay you attention and say, oh my gosh, Aya, you're beautiful, you're sexy, I love to take you on a date or whatever. But that doesn't really feed my soul, so to speak, right? So just having random men think that I'm attractive or want to spend time with me, but it's not really grounded on something that I feel could be fulfilling to my spirit, it does nothing for me, for where I am in this part of my journey. A man that is emotionally available. I am type A. I'm an overthinker. I'm the oldest of 5 children. I'm a mother. I'm a Scorpio / water sign. I am extremely emotional. And having a man that understands that and respects that and is willing to navigate that aspect of my being is something that's important to me. And honestly, some men don't want to do that. And that's just fine, right? That's fine. But that's something that matters to me. So if it matters to you, then it's a part of your personal happiness. Another thing that matters to me is I love music and I love to laugh. And finding someone where I can share that with, that time of just like listening to music that I like, or them introducing me to music that they think I may like, or, you know, vice versa. Like, I'm playing something that they've never heard before and they're like, oh, I kind of like this. I like that back and forth energy. Like, I remember sitting with someone that one day and I was letting my playlist play and he was like, oh, I like that transition. And I was impressed that he noticed the effort that I put into the arrangement of my playlist. Like, oh, okay, thank you. You put some respect on my playlist. But that was something that mattered to me, which, to someone else, it may just be like, whatever. For me, also, I'm really committed to walking in my truth and being very vulnerable and being honest. So finding a partner that is willing to accept that, but also is willing to be that as well. I connect with that. And everybody's they're not willing to do that. And you don't have to be to have a lover or boyfriend or even a husband, you do not have to be as vulnerable as I particularly like to be. I like to talk about feelings. I like to talk about thoughts. I like to talk about dreams. And when I say dreams, I don't necessarily mean like, oh, I want to be this when I grow up. I mean, sometimes I have a dream that affects me emotionally and I want to talk about that dream. Or sometimes I have a dream that may play out later on and I'm like, I had a dream about this. And we have discussions about that. And everyone may not be up for that kind of, I don't want to say relationship or connection or depth, but that's who I am. And, having a partner that understands that and is open to that exchange matters to me. I like to spend time with people. So some people like gifts, like, oh, I'm sorry, babe, I couldn't make it to your show or I couldn't make it to your whatever. So they send you a bracelet. Or, hey, babe, here's some roses because I couldn't do that. I'd rather you be there. I'd rather you actually show up and support because that matters to me. Like your actual physical presence or spending time with you. And me and my friends joke, it's like, oh, well, when you're already rich and you can buy yourself flowers and you can buy your own trips and stuff, you're more concerned into the why. Like, why are you sending me flowers? Are you sending me flowers because I love the smell of this particular flower and you've noticed it in my apartment and you know that it lifts my mood? Or are you sending me flowers because that's what people do on fucking TV shows? Like, and I know it sounds weird, but I'm one of those women where the why matters. I need to know why you're doing it. Are we going out to a restaurant that has a water view because it got good reviews on Yelp? Or are we going to this restaurant that has water views because, I'm a water sign and I love the water and just being there soothes my spirit? Knowing the difference matters to me. And that's why I go back to genuine connections, because a man with money can invite you to the beach and buy you your favorite flowers, right? But a woman like me wants to know that he's doing this because he understands me on a certain level. Not because we're just going through the motions, like we're dating, so we're just going to go here. Or I'm buying you flowers because on, every romantic comedy you see, that's what people do. Like, hey, babe, I'm sorry, so here's some flowers. And it sounds really simple, like, oh, what's the big deal? What's the difference? It's the same, like you getting the same thing. But to me, it's the energy behind it. And that's all I got to say. If it matters to me and it's important to me, that's all that matters. That's my personal journey. To someone else, it may not matter. They may be like, chick, listen, you got your date on the water. You got your flowers. Who gives a damn why you got it? Well, I do. And having a partner that understands that I care is a part of my personal happiness. And I'm okay with that. I also like to be touched. I like words of affirmation. So I like to hear that I look nice today, or that you listen to my podcast, or that you saw that I had 300 views on my live stream and you're really happy about that. Or that, oh, my daughter won an award and you saw me post something on Facebook, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, you are a good mom, and because like I said, it doesn't have to be like just to me and my physical beauty. It could just be like, I'm grateful for who you are as a person in my life or whatever, so I like to hear how much you appreciate me and the energy that I bring to you. That matters to me. So pretty much when I looked at what makes me happy, none of it, if you really think about it, is attached to money, to height, to education at all. It's all about someone that wants to understand me as a person. What education and money can do is allow someone to show you how much they appreciate you and how well they know you. Does that make sense? So it's, well, I have a job and I'm in a good space financially. So because I'm not in survival mode, right? Because I can pay my bills and I have disposable income, I can now sit back and say, oh, let me do this for Ayodele because she's going to enjoy it. So that's the benefit of dating a man, or, you know, having a lover or a boyfriend or partner that has money. And I think for me, it was really, really important on identifying what happiness is to me, so that I can find that first. And yes, like I said, money and education and all that stuff is important. I don't want to sit here and be like, it doesn't matter, but for your actual happiness. So for me, money is connected to happiness in how my partner can use his resources to show me how well he knows me, how well he appreciates me. You know, so for example, I love music. It's like, oh, let's go, like one of my favorite artists is her. So it'll be like, let's go to, you know, her is playing in LA, or she's playing in Anaheim, or she's playing in San Diego. So let's plan a weekend trip where we can listen to her and go to the beach because I know you love the water, and, you know, just stuff like that, where, you know, they know that you like this artist and they know that you like the water, and they can use their resources to make sure that you're having a good time because they actually know you. And when it comes to visualizing a new life, I think in the best of both worlds, you can, or let me backtrack a little bit. So because of everything that I've been through in my life, married, divorced, mom, all these things, I think it's extremely important that I point out that the things that make me happy are not necessarily the foundation of a good relationship. And it doesn't mean that you're compatible as a life partner, right? So you could find a man that makes you happy and you have a genuine connection and they think you're beautiful and all this stuff, but financially or emotionally or spiritually, they are not ready to be your partner, right? So I don't want to like paint this picture of the world where as long as they make you happy emotionally, everything is going to be okay. Because relationships take so much more than your happiness to survive. Because you're going to need somewhere to live. You're going to need food to eat. You know, you're going to need a life plan. You're going to need a spiritual plan. How do you handle when you're challenged? You know, people get ill. People lose work. Things happen. And so your spiritual foundation helps you through some of the rough patches. Your financial planning will also help you through some of the rough patches. Like, how are we going to plan as a family to get through some of these things? So that's a whole different level. And I just want to be very clear that I am not advocating for people to get married or pick a boyfriend based solely on your emotional happiness. What I am advocating is that women start to look at what will actually make them happy, because so many of us are taught, oh, well, he's a good guy. You know, he goes to church, or in my case, you know, he's connected to his ancestors. He's grounded in African spirituality, because that's what would matter for me personally. But I'm just giving you the American stereotype. He's tall. He's handsome. He's educated. He has a good job. He goes to church. That's it. That's husband material. And I'm here to tell you that there's so much more than you should be evaluating based on that if you want to be happy. The Ayo way, right? Because happiness to me may not be happiness to you. I know lots of people that are like, look, my bills are paid. We got our 401k. My kids are good. We got the college fund set. I'm good. If I need emotional support, I will call my mama. I will call my sister. I will call my girlfriends. I don't even need emotional support from my husband. And honestly, from my grandmother's generation and my great grandmother's generation, that's exactly how relationships were. You were not looking at your partner and expecting a level of emotional support from them, because it was financial. It was like, can he pay the bills? Can he take care of the bills? And then you take care of everything else. And what I have observed from my family and my parents and other people, generation to generation to generation, is that women started to articulate their needs more and demand more, especially emotionally, from their partner. So most of the women that I know, that especially if they're 30 or younger, they have different emotional expectations from their partner than my grandmother, who is 97. It's just a total different reality of what they expect. And I'm 37. So I'm kind of I don't want to say old school values, but I still do kind of feel like if you're going to be married to someone, then they should be able to take care of you financially. That's a very old school thought. Even though I'm a lawyer and I can pay my own bills and everything, I just kind of feel like if a man is like, I want to marry you, he should be able to maintain some sort of household. And he should look at you and see how you're living and be like, if I want to marry her, I need to be able to at least take care of how she's already living, and if not, make it better. So that is a very old school way of thinking. That's a part of me, right? But there's also a very free and emotionally open part of me that's like, I'm looking for this emotional support from my male partner, from someone that I would choose as a life partner, boyfriend, husband, whatever. This is the emotional level that I'm looking for that is very foreign to my grandmother, But when I decided to sit down and think about what made me happy, I realized that this is the being that I am, and this is what I want, and this is what makes me happy. And I'm going to be free and say that that's what I want. As I say in other episodes, once you decide what you want, I feel like life gets a little bit easier for you, because you're able to sit in your truth and you're able to articulate your truth. And I really do believe that, people who are more in line with what you say you want start to come your way. And it's easier to let go of people who are not what you want, because at the end of the day, in your heart, you are at peace with what you want. It's just helped me visualize a whole new life for myself, where I know what I need emotionally. I don't think that's really going to shift whether you're a lover, a boyfriend, a husband. I know what I need emotionally, right? I know what that desire is. And then if we're going to elevate relationship past, friendship, past lovers, I know what I want financially. I know what I want spiritually. I know what I want just in terms of like morally, like what kind of character I would like my life partner to have. Financial responsibility, and I have all these things kind of outlined of like what this man looks like. So it makes it really easy to not confuse my relationships, because I'm like, no, I know if I'm gonna pick someone, I know what I'm looking for. So it's easy for me to be grounded in my happiness and say, okay, this person can fulfill this need right now, and if we're gonna shift our relationship, we already know what changes need to be made in both of us for it to work, right? Because I know I talk a lot about what I want and what I need, but I also have to talk about the changes that have to happen within myself, which that's a whole nother podcast episode. To me, the other phase that's important for mothers, especially to understand, is that I think most of us, if we have been in a relationship and we've had children with somebody, for the most part, you cared about the partner, you cared about the man that you had this child with. And now this person is no longer in your life. So you have to process the pain of that and the grief of that and you have to let that go and you have to start over. And because there are children involved, starting over looks different for you than it does for other men and women, but particularly women. That's who I'm talking to. So for me personally, another thing that was a part of my happiness journey was just taking time to identify, what am I going to work on? My anxiety, my fear, my issues with rejection, anger, codependency, how I handle conflict. These are all things that I'll talk about in another episode, but these are all things that I sat down with myself and was like, okay, before you get into another serious relationship where you decide, okay, I'm going to try to make this work and this is going to be long term, here are some things that you have to tackle within yourself. And once again, why does this matter? Why does this matter? It mattered to me because I want to be happy. And I realize that as humans, we repeat patterns. And if I didn't face certain things about myself, number one, but number two, if I didn't face what my actual needs were, like what makes you happy, forget what people say you should be, who you should be dating or interacting with, what actually makes you happy? In terms of interacting with a man, if I don't face those things, I'm not going to be happy. Because I'm going to be walking around this earth doing what other people think I should be doing. And worse, I haven't even faced myself. How are you supposed to be happy if you haven't faced yourself to say, this is what I need to work on? And then you haven't faced yourself to say, this is what actually makes me happy. This is what my needs are. If you don't face those things, how can you get to happy? I don't see a way there. That's just my opinion. I believe that you have to face these things. So going back to this, with being honest with yourself and how it's connected with your happiness, I don't think we should throw away everything society says about choosing a partner. I don't think you have to throw everything away, but I just encourage you to be honest about who you are and what you need and why some of these things matter. Like, why does a man having money matter? Or why does his height matter? Or why does his education matter? In relation to your specific journey here on this earth, like your own individual journey. Why does it matter to you? And I would encourage you to kind of step away from, okay, well, we'll look nice in pictures, or we can go on this trip, or, we can live in this house and drive this car. Because I'm here to tell you, none of that is connected to your true happiness. I don't care how happy people look on the outside for the gram. It's not it. It gets old. And so I encourage you to seek out a partner where you can be yourself and they can be themselves. And if you love to travel, travel. You know what I'm saying? If you love cars and clothes and all, do all of that. But just make sure you're doing it because that's what you want to do, not because you're trying to impress people on social media. And I say social media, but I really am speaking of society and your family and friends. But social media is the easiest way to capture all of that. Because at the end of the day, I think a lot of the decisions we make are based on what other people think. And that's very dangerous when it comes to your personal happiness. So once again, thank you for listening to MILF Ministry Podcast. This episode was dedicated to being honest with yourself and how that's connected to personal happiness. And we talked about society standards of what you should be doing versus what you need. And we went through some of the things that I really like and some of the things that matter to me. We skipped sex in this episode because MILF Ministry, you already know that sex is a part of my journey. But, and it's a part of my happiness as well, because orgasms are great for your mental health and your spiritual health and all of your health, right? Orgasms are a part of my self-care. But I just thought it was important to isolate your individual needs based on your spiritual journey. Like, what makes you happy? And I believe that if we're honest, a lot of those things are priceless. However, like we discussed earlier in the episode, that we're not throwing out societal standards of education and money and anything else that may come up that you may hear people talk about that matters. It's important that we just think about what makes us happy. Thanks for listening to this episode of MILF Ministry Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and then share it. Merch is available at milfministry.com. You can join our live conversations about self-love, healing, and intimacy by following at MILF Ministry on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. My name is Ayodele Vassal. I'm an attorney, a creative, and a MILF. And I pray you always have honey for your spirits and honey for your lips.